On this webinar, we'll take a look at Ecanvasser, both a live demo of the actual app and a look at the dashboard, and talk about the perks, challenges, and limitations. And now, I'll just preface this in saying that, in my experience with municipal campaigns, mobile canvassing still is a more advanced kind of application. Certainly, it's can really improve efficiency for campaigns and whatnot. However, getting a solid data, getting your Canvas data management solidly in place, and with a paper canvas is often a first step. And until you've got that in place and your orientation for your canvassers and your follow-ups from the canvas, then all of those are the key things to get in place. And then mobile canvassing can really take you to the next level when you're ready to go. But if this is the first time you've run a campaign, and often the pieces that we talked to about on the previous webinar, and some of your phone bank applications and whatnot may be a higher priority. And then that'd be nice. And once you've got that going, you might consider a mobile canvas. So with that said, I mean, Tyler, feel free to, if you've got a different opinion on that, that's just from my experience so far, but I'd appreciate to hear your thoughts on that as well. And I'll hand it over to you. We are going to focus on Ecanvasser. There are multiple mobile canvassing solutions. In terms of pricing for municipal campaigns and usability, as well as functionality and integration with NationBuilder, Ecanvasser does stand out as ahead of the pack. Again, there are some other good tools, but often either they're not as affordable for municipal campaigns, or they are not as easy to get started in terms of a software as a service, and not as quick to get started. So with that said, that's why we're focused on Ecanvasser right now and NationBuilder integration, and I'll pass it over to you, Tyler. Thanks again for joining us for this.
Awesome. No, thank you for inviting me. This is awesome. So as Chris was talking about, the affordability is really a big issue, and it was something that we have in 2014. We tried to mobile canvas at the very beginning, and we had our mobile app. We went into a building, and then all of a sudden we realized, oh, the app won't work for buildings because it doesn't sort properly. So that was our first experience going into mobile canvassing, and I think, Chris, you might remember that because you helped us get those licenses from I forget what company we were with at that time. So the hunt never stopped, and we found Ecanvasser earlier this year, and we thought, you know what, let's start testing it out now. We're in office. We have the ability to, canvas in between elections, to talk to people, find out, if they have any issues, if they think that Chris is doing a great job, etc. And so we found Ecanvasser, and so now what we're doing is we're just working out all the kinks, and we're working very closely with the Ecanvasser team. They're very receptive to feedback, and they've been very quick on fixing things for us and for other campaigns. So that's why I would highly recommend them. To quickly go with one thing that to quickly go with one of the things that I'm just trying to look for an email here that Chris was mentioning is having that kind of training and whatnot. And can I share my screen?
Can I be of any help here, Tyler? I've got the perks of mobile canvassing, challenges, and current limitations. Oh,
yeah. You were talking about something, one of the things that you brought up, but there's two things I'll show you. So one is this email first. So this is an example of an email that we have going out from NationBuilder automatically. So the email is programmed, and NationBuilder has this capability so that it takes the address from the event, and it takes the date and time from the event. And when I say from the event, I mean the event that you've created in NationBuilder. It then has an auto response that you can send by email when someone RSVPs for that. This goes into a bit of volunteer management, but I mean, it has to do with this, this canvassing. So what happens is it sends them this email, which is a template, and then it replaces, you know, the date and the location. And it asks them to review 2 documents that we've created. So we've created one document. Now, when mobile canvassing, we find that it's very useful, especially if you're with the candidate, to do advancing. Advancing, I'll just open this document here. It just means that you have a 3P person, sometimes a 4-person, but that's hard to do. A 3-person team. One person is with the candidate at all times to take notes on the app as everything's happening, as they're talking, as you're knocking on doors, and the other person is going ahead by a door or 2 and knocking, so that you're really getting, it's kind of like phone banking. You're getting all of the homes that are not there, and the candidate is able to focus his attention on jumping from door to door of people who actually answer. So that's what advancing is. So what we do is we have a document, a Google Doc that actually explains to the volunteer ahead of the canvas, this is what you're going to be doing. This is how we canvas. Now, the second thing that it has is a link to how Ecanvasser works, and being able to, first download the app, and then from there, oh, and we did make these clickable. So first they can download the app. We've given them the direct links if they have either Apple or Android. And then it actually walks them through the canvas on an iPhone versus an Android. And it walks them through all the various different types. Now we're gonna actually walk through that live today, but I just wanted to give you that kind of overview of this is how we prepare people for door-to-door canvassing, so that they can get a sense, especially if they've never done it before. And so then on the canvas, they already have the app, and all we need to do is give them access. So that's one of the things that we do in advance, just to help people and to speed along the process and make it a bit more organized. Now let me share this other screen with you. So this is Ecanvasser. So this is the pricing structure. It's based on the number of people that you import into Ecanvasser. So really, I mean, on a municipal campaign, you're not really canvassing more than 15,000 people at any given time. And so what we found is that we were actually able to stay within the $50 a month plan, because we only import 15,000, under 15,000 people at a time. And so we really segment our list. So we say, okay, we're going into this geographic area. It encompasses, let's say, 5 streets. And that's what we're going to be doing today. And so we import those 5 streets, we canvass those, it sends the information back to NationBuilder, and then we're able to then remove that list without affecting the data, because it's a NationBuilder, and then import a new list. So it would work by poll, or if you don't use polls, it would work in any type of geographic list that you put together. So it is very possible for municipal campaigns to stay within the $50 a month. If you do go into the higher tiers, obviously that's completely up to you, but you're not canvassing 50,000 or 200,000 people all at once. And if you are, I really want to know which campaign you're working on, because that's amazing, and I'd love that in a campaign, in a municipal one at least. But for mayor, maybe they would be canvassing that many people at a time. But certainly not at the councilor or the school board trustee level. So now for Ecanvasser. So in the back end of Ecanvasser, can you see the screen? You can, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Okay. So in Ecanvasser, The first thing that you'll want to do when you log into Ecanvasser is, and you get I think it's a 14 or 30-day free trial. So, you know, when you're ready to take a jab at it, you know, get the 14-day or 30-day, I can't remember what it is, trial. I feel like they have a trial on here, but yeah, there is a trial. So, you know, take advantage of the trial. So when you import people, you can either import a voter file, so that would be like a CSV or an Excel file, or you can do NationBuilder. And again, for our context, we do NationBuilder. Connect your nation first, and then after your nation is collected, all of the lists will come up. So you probably remember this list from the last call. We had Call Hub Cleanup, but we also have a list called Ward 25 and a list called Donors. And so we can import those lists separately. Let's say we added people to those lists in NationBuilder, but we didn't add them here. We could always update the list. So it's very useful for that. But this is where you would import your list. From there, all of your people will show up. You can segment them by houses, by streets, or by groups. If you have a lot of data, you can really even dig down into their age or their gender or party or whether they're a volunteer. There's so much filtering that you're able to do with Ecanvasser. I find it quite amazing. And then you can create groups out of people, you know, custom fields, whatever it may be. The other great thing is the map, and the mapping feature works, I think, a lot better than NationBuilder. So in NationBuilder, you can do turf cuts. I'm not sure whether we've talked about that before. I feel like we have in one of the other webinars, but we can briefly touch on that in a bit as well. But basically, turf cutting within Ecanvasser is very easy. It's called a group. So you draw a group, and again, you can just drag and drop. So I'm going to select all these people, creates a group, and then you'd say create group. So I've finished. I may not have finished, right? So that's why it doesn't actually create it, just so that I can still play around with it and figure out, you know, who else do I want in there? Maybe I missed, you know, some buildings, etc. And then you can create the group, and then within the group, you'll give it a name, and you'll assign it to a team. So you can have various teams. So again, you can have poll 1, poll 2, poll 3, whatever it may be. That's what your teams would be called. And we're going to go over why creating these teams is important as well. Okay. So we'll say save. So save that group. Now, if you click on the group, you'll see some results. So these are some results that we've collected on our canvas so far. If we zoom in, now this is typically what campaign managers and data people in the campaign office are looking at, not the canvassers, obviously. This is the dashboard. And so you can see all of the places that we've canvassed. So this person was canvassed, they just did not answer. This person in the red was not interested. There's a gray box. All these gray boxes are just people who were not canvassed at all. And then there's the green who were canvassed and it was a successful canvas. So you can quickly see, you know, what's happening in the field as it's happening. And this is real-time data. So if somebody was canvassing right now, which they're not for us, then you would actually be able to see in real time, where are they on the map, and what is the reception that they're receiving at the houses. Now, the other great thing that you can do, and this is what we do, is we actually sort it by house type. And the reason we do that is because when we go into, let's say it's a rainy day, we want to do buildings. So what we've done is we've identified all of the addresses in our nation that are buildings, and we've created a custom field within NationBuilder, which I'll show you in a moment, that says building. And so then you're able to canvas only buildings for that day. We've also, the other house type that we have is house. So I could just put in house, and now you see a whole bunch of dots disappear and a whole bunch of new dots reappear. And that's showing you all of the houses. So you can see this is a very house dense population, whereas further south, and of course this is Toronto, so further south, there's you know, a lot more buildings. So that's what we have. We also have it by school. We have a bunch of other custom fields as well, but these are the two that we really use when we're canvassing because it's useful. You can also do by precinct, by zip code, by canvasser. So if you want to see specifically, you know, who has actually canvassed certain areas, you can do that. By reception, you know, where do you have the most support in your area? Where do you have the least support? A lot of filtering capability with Ecanvasser to help you with that strategy. So that's the map. Now teams. So teams, and you can have people assigned to multiple teams. So you can see all of us are assigned to all of our teams, and it's just because we were just testing out the teams, and sometimes we would remove them from ourselves. But you want to create everybody and place them in at least one team when you create them. And the reason why I say that is because this app has an amazing functionality called talking points. Usually when you have a clipboard and paper canvas sheet, you know, you also have at the back of it or at the front of it, sometimes you usually have that script, right? To help those first-time canvassers who are nervous talking to people, don't really know what to talk about, don't have the key points, and so you put key points there. For this, you're able to actually create key points and then assign it to a team. So you can, and then you can also assign a category. So pay attention to just the points, I guess, and the categories and the teams, because we're going to, or sorry, the categories, because we're going to show you that in the actual app. But again, the great thing about it is I can say this specific key point, I don't want the entire ward to have to talk about that key point because it might only have to do with, you know, a specific development that's happening in one specific community. Well, the other side of my community doesn't care about that development. They care about a park that is, you know, needs to go up or is going up, whatever it may be. And so you can actually segment those by the teams that are going out. And then you can edit them, delete them, whatever it may be. You can also say it's a general, like, you know, everyone needs to be talking about this one point, whether it be affordability, taxes, whatever it may be, something that unifies everyone in the ward. And so that's why it's really important to have teams. And that's why it's important to really segment those out however you wish to segment them out. Right now, we're not focused on polls because we're not campaigning. We're just talking with constituents. But, you know, during the election, we'll probably have this segmented by poll. Surveys. So again, you can import your NationBuilder surveys. And we've talked a lot about that. So we're gonna go over that in a bit. And then you can see your results. How many people were canvassed, how many houses you visited, what was the average reception. So this average reception I'm pretty happy with. It's fairly high. It's 3.88 out of 5, so almost a 4 out of 5. And then you can also see, you know, graphs of your reception as well, which dates, what's happening. You know, maybe there was an event that happened on a specific day and all of a sudden your support spiked or dipped. You'd be able to kind of figure out and data mine that. And the other great thing is issues. So as you're canvassing, we're going to find out today when we use the app that you're able to see, you're able to actually enter in notes, and those are called voter issues. And then you manage those voter issues within Ecanvasser. They do not export back to NationBuilder. You'd have to manually kind of put them in NationBuilder if they were something that you needed, which is good just because then it doesn't clutter your nation with notes that, you know, canvassers may or may not understand really what exactly is important to the campaign and what is not. And then email blasts. Again, I don't really find it useful. We don't send email blasts through here. We could, but and they don't charge you per email or anything like that. But again, NationBuilder has it, so we don't really need it within Ecanvasser. So that's a brief overview of the back end of Ecanvasser. Are there any questions before I move to the?
Yeah, I was just going to ask if you could just review the sync, the NationBuilder sync.
Yes, absolutely. Sorry. So so when you first log in, whoops, this is the screen that you're going to see. Then you'll go to import people. You'll go to Nation Builder. It'll ask you to connect your nation because I already have a nation here. It's obviously not asking me to reconnect, but you'd connect your nation with just in like your nation ID, and then it'll import the lists. Once you import all the lists, then you can actually import specific lists. So that's where you can create you can have a list for each of your individual polls, and then you just update those lists.
And sorry, maybe I was referring more to the fields that you're directly syncing back. So you've got first name, last name, email,
Oh, my
address,
bad.
and all of
Yeah.
that. Are you, in terms of issues, or are you using any custom fields and whatnot?
Oh, okay. So actually, that's easier for me to explain in the actual app itself.
Perfect, perfect.
Yeah. So I'll just show you the app. So this is the app, and this is what happens when you're on the app. So you can see, remember that we created that test group, right? So that test group is now showing up here. So if we actually go into it, then we can see all the people that are in that test group. So there's, I guess, the first main features that I'll show you. One is if you click on settings at the bottom there, at the bottom here, you can sync or you can change campaigns. So if somebody's working on multiple campaigns and they're working, and they both use Ecanvasser, you'd be able to do that. Synchronizing, just make sure that your data is all synchronized. This works offline. So if somebody doesn't have data while they're out canvassing, it will just maintain all of that information within the app. And then as soon as they have an internet connection, they can go to settings, they can click on sync, and it will synchronize to the database. Okay. So we have canvases down here. We have map. So what the map will show you where you currently are. This is where I currently am. And then from there, you can start your canvas, or travel to the area wherever it is that you're looking. And all of the data that I have access to shows up there. So if I didn't have access to every team, then it would only show me the groups that I have assigned to that team. Okay, so if you assign somebody to poll 1, they won't see every single poll. They'll only see poll 1 within poll 1. Then there's also talking points. So I mean, you remember I said, keep an eye on the categories. So this is how it actually shows up and how it's categorized. So I had a category called General, Jesse Ketchum, and Church Street, and all of those categories then lump the talking points into those categories so that I can see all of them. Now, if I stipulated that General was for everybody, but Jesse Ketchum was only for certain people, it would only show up for those people. So they're only seeing the talking points that they have access to in that team. Make sense? So canvases. This is where I kind of want to talk a bit about what Chris was introducing in terms of, let's see if I can, here we go, in terms of the perks, the challenges, and the limitations. So the perks of mobile canvassing are obviously, real-time data entry. You get those live stats that we showed you. You get quick search capability, so you don't have to flip through papers. So for example, if I went to people and I wanted to search for a specific person, so let's say I want to search for myself, I live in this ward. And I'm obviously, oh, actually, I don't live in the new ward, so I won't show up. Let's search my friend Jeff. So let's say I wanted to search for Jeff. you can see here that he's actually has a duplicate entry, but and it's just because he goes by two different, like a preferred name and a voter's list name. But you could see that I could quickly search him, click on him, and then canvas that person. Okay, so we'll get to that in a second. Just want to get through the note here. So quick search capability, so you don't have to flip through pages finding that person. It's easier to filter houses that are not canvassed yet or that need follow-up. So going back, if we go to let's say groups, well, let's say we're doing the map, right? It's sometimes easier to do by map. What I found is that if you, for example, let's say we're doing, which street is really good? Yeah. So if we're doing McPherson, right? This street here with this person, you know, what I can do is I can quickly go into filters.
Still showing Jeffrey on your screen there, Tyler.
Oh, is it? My
There we
apologies. Oh, sorry. Okay, so I'm going to go back.
Got it. Yep, we can see that.
Yeah, so if you go to the map and I'm saying, okay, I'm going to go to McPherson and I'm going to edit, I can click on the filter button, which is the blue one there. And then I can say who I visited, which usually isn't helpful on the phone, both, which is sometimes it's the default, or not visited. So for canvassers, obviously, you want them to only go to places that are not visited most of the time. Some of the times you want to follow up, right? So I could go to not visited, click done, and then it would filter out everyone who I've already visited. So then I'm only hitting the houses that I need to clean up and finish. So that's an example. Or I could say visited or not visited, but I need to know people who were not home, because I'm going to recanvass those people and call back, call back, not home, because those are the two people that I want to follow up with. Done. And then you can see all the people who are not home and I need to canvass those people, right? So great filtering capabilities, allows you to really dig down and as we talked about before, it allows you to G-target using those talking points. Okay, and have a very specific message for people at the door. Now, some of the challenges. Entering in information during a canvas we found can be a tiny bit more time consuming. How we overcome that is, again, as I said, having an advanced canvassing model where one person is with the candidate or elected official and one person is knocking on doors. That really helps because that person who's with the candidate doesn't have to worry about knocking on doors ahead of the candidate, and they can stay with the candidate. Really, they're silenced most of the time because they're really just listening to the conversation that the candidate is having at the door, and they're taking notes in the note section and entering in all that data and entering in people who are not home. The other thing is your data that's coming from NationBuilder needs to be very clean and very organized. An example of that is, let me go back. Sorry, both, and there we go. Okay, so an example of that is, let's just go into somebody. So let's say I'm here. Actually, sorry, let me go to streets because that's where it showed up. So under streets, you'll notice I have a lot of streets that start with the number 1. And, and the reason why we do is because we have, you'll see 107A. It's because that is, that's how someone formatted the address because they're in unit A of 107. And so what ends up happening is this app, they haven't figured out yet how to format that properly. And so, we've tried reformatting it and whatnot, it doesn't work. So that's one of the limitations. But you will see, if I scroll down quite a bit, now I get to the 2 streets and the 3 streets, where are the A's? Here we go. So you'll see here now that we have Alexander Street. And what we've done is we've gone in and formatted all the addresses in NationBuilder So usually in the second field, you'll have, you'll have the 2 line address fields. You'll have the street, and then underneath in the second line, you'll usually say their unit number. Or sometimes you'll say 1012-31 Alexander Street. You can't do that when you're using this mobile canvassing app because it won't show buildings properly. So the best thing to do is to tag unit dash and then, excuse me, just need some water. The best thing to do is to format your addresses to say unit dash and then the unit number on the second line, and then on the first line, keep that 31 Alexander Street. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, your data has to be extremely clean and organized. We found that the first few weeks that we were canvassing in June, it wasn't really working out, but now we've gotten to a point where it's like clockwork and we've become a well-oiled machine. Now, other limitations is adding people on the fly. So I'll show you an example of that. So let's say we're canvassing this. Actually, that's not good. So let's say we're at this address, we're canvassing, and Sean no longer lives there. One of the limitations that we found is when we click on his name, there's actually no way of marking that he's moved. So that's one of the biggest things that we've had, and we've been constantly, working with Ecanvasser to say this needs to really be fixed, and they're working on it. The other thing is, so once you go into the canvas type, it's also limited. So you can only have these options. There's no other way of you can't have custom canvas types. The other thing is, let's say Sean was home, but you wanted to edit an aspect. Let's say you wanted to add an email or a phone number that he was giving you. You would click on, sorry, I'm going fast. So in the top right corner, you'd click on edit when you're on their specific page. And then you can go in and you can edit, their gender. You can go in and edit their age. You can go in and edit their contact details. And then again, in the top right corner, you're clicking save every time. So those are a few of the limitations of this particular app. We've worked around that. Basically, what we do is we canvass the person, and I forget what we say. I think we usually say canvas, and then we put it in the voter issue just to say moved. Just that when we go back into NationBuilder, Ecanvasser in the back in the dashboard, we can actually just take out those people from NationBuilder to say, okay, they've moved. So that's one way that we've worked around it. The other thing is you could just leave them. Sometimes we do that as well. And then you just add the new person. So to add a voter, you just click add voter, add their first name and their last name, save it, and then it adds them to that household, and it automatically adds them to your nation. Let's say you're canvassing, somebody didn't give you a name. That's one of the great things that I love about this app is that they have the unknown voter possibility. So let's say you're canvassing, someone's home, but they don't give any other details, but you had a fairly good reception. I could say unknown voter, and I'm going to canvass them, and they had a good reception. Okay. The other case where that's useful is if someone's not home, but instead of marking both people not home, let's see if there's any, yeah. So there's two people here, and instead of me going in and marking them both as not home, I can just canvass unknown voter, not home, and it will automatically mark them both as having tried to be contacted in NationBuilder as not home, because you don't know which one you were, well, it was really both of them. Okay. The other thing that it does is, let me filter this. So visited and canvassed. The other thing it does is it shows you previous canvases. So you can see the issues raised, so support level, all of that. And the support level does not automatically, oh, sorry, it does automatically import into NationBuilder. Just so you know, it uses the NationBuilder five tier support level.
Except I'm pretty sure that it's reversed, right? So 5 stars in Ecanvasser, and it does do that, but is actually a 1 in
Correct.
NationBuilder.
And so it would still mark it as a 1 in NationBuilder because it knows that 5 out of 5 in Ecanvasser is a 1, is it like a strong supporter. Why does nothing match my search now? Oh, that's why. And then what was the other thing that I was going to mention? In terms of another limitation is just sorting. So when you go to the filter, you can only order by A to Z or distance. You can't order by Z to A, for example, which would be useful in buildings. So basically, we just type in it's very useful that we can search building numbers while we're in buildings looking for units. But they are working on that. We've been assured that they are working on that. Adding a brand new address is kind of tedious because when you're here or when you're here and you don't see the address on the list that you're looking for. So let's, for example, say there's 114 and there's 116, but there's no 115. I'd have to go all the way out. Click the plus sign in the top corner here, top right, and then you'd have to enter in all of the information, and then you click save, and then you have to go back into them. So that's the another limitation again that they have assured us that they're working on. It helps that we're using it before an election because we can work out all the kinks and figure out what our personal workarounds are going to be if we're going to continue using this app during the election. So that's why I say, take your 14 or 30-day trial before the election, test it out, make sure that your data looks good in the app, etc. Yeah. Now, one last thing I'll show you before we, I guess, go over the NationBuilder side of things for the surveys, Chris, is when you canvass a person, and then you say canvas, you'll notice that there's the reception, there's survey, and then there's voter issue. We don't have any live surveys right now just because, again, we're not canvassing. We're just asking people at the door, we're introducing Chris. We're asking them if they have any issues. And so we're just logging those issues. There's no specific survey. But if you had a survey in NationBuilder that you imported into Ecanvasser, for example, lawn sign, you wouldn't need to do this, do you support Chris, but you can do lawn sign, donation, whatever it may be, you can add that in here. Have you voted in the last election? Often during canvasses, and that's one of the things that we're going to be doing this year, just as a tip, next year is anytime we're asking someone if they're going to be supporting Chris, we're also going to be asking, did they vote in the last election? Now, we're taking their word for it, but the reason why that really works is because, if they haven't voted in the last recent election or they're ineligible to vote, they'll tell you. And that data becomes useful when you're actually trying to get out the vote or when you're trying to analyze your data around who's likely to vote and who's not likely to vote. And I think that's it. Are there any? That was a
And then Tyler,
seemed like a whirlwind.
Presumably, like from your past campaigns, maybe are you entering in sort of information from scrutineering or whatnot and maintaining that as well, like about the vote history, or have you not maintained that from last time around?
In municipal campaigns, it's harder. Well, at least for trustee, because we have a very limited set of volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
But we have done it for advanced voters because the city gives us the advanced vote list. So we've done that. And then next year, because we actually have a plan in place now, we're going to be collecting that data, at least for key polls if we can't do all of them.
Neat, yeah. I think in the interest of time, we should look at just NationBuilder quickly, and then I've been answering some questions on the right-hand column, and you've answered them through your review. So I think we can just steam.
Awesome.
Did you want me to go over the survey, or would you like to pull that up?
Would you like to in your test nation?
Can do, yeah.
Awesome.
Sorry, so I'm just going to need to pull that up here.
Um, oh yeah, I adjust the fly.
Okay.
Yeah, while he's bringing up the surveys, um, you know, when I say that data entry becomes a little bit slower using your phone or tablet versus paper is because you are constantly doing a lot of clicks, in and out of people, and especially if you're editing their contact information. But there's a trade-off. It's either you spend those hours after the canvas entering in that data. Same thing, and then phone numbers could be off by a digit because you couldn't read someone's handwriting properly, or emails could be off, or whatever it may be. So there's some limitations, perks and benefits, and sometimes the benefit is the limit. So um, you have to get into a rhythm. And so I would say, if you are going to use this, don't give up after your first or second canvas. Try to stick with it for a little while, just so that you can really work a rhythm, especially if you're starting your campaign early enough. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and definitely is worth restating that that mobile canvassing is not an easy thing to deploy. It takes time and energy to train volunteers to figure out the system. As Tyler, you said, it took you a couple weeks, right, at the beginning to sort out bugs and whatnot, right? So
Yeah.
certainly it is a complicated process. However, if you do get it down, it really can allow you to make the overall Canvas data management process much more efficient. But yeah, it's definitely not a quick fix or quick deployment. So I'll just show you quickly. I'm actually this is a sandbox live on a live campaign that I'm showing you here, the dashboard, and this is the Ecanvasser dashboard. You can see similar to the one that Tyler showed you earlier. However, we do have a survey here that's synced with NationBuilder. Unfortunately, I just can't show you the nation. I'll show you a different nation, a sandbox nation, where I can show you what surveys look like generally, but it's not connected to this account. But you can see here that uh, this account, Ecanvasser account, has a NationBuilder. You can see the little NationBuilder icon there. Survey synced. And you can see the questions. So it's just very basic questions here. Notes, lawn sign, what issues does the voter care about, and what and volunteers. So you can see this is a relatively just a small number of answers so far. However, it's a relatively recent deployment of the tool. So to give you a sense here on the NationBuilder side, you've got just to take note here, they've got multiple choice in text, so that's the type of field that is being, or type of question, sorry, that's being synced. And there are just a few types of questions you can ask in NationBuilder, so it's not, it's relatively basic. So actually, I'm just going to as well pull up Ecanvasser to NationBuilder sync chart for your reference. And so I'm going to switch over here. Okay, so if you take a look at, if you just Google NationBuilder Ecanvasser Sync, I'll also post this link to the chat. You can see that there's actually a checkbox or it tells you what type of information you can sync from NationBuilder to Ecanvasser and then Ecanvasser to NationBuilder. And so surveys is one, but you can custom fields and other pieces you can sync. And so if we take a look at what a survey looks like in NationBuilder, let's just look at this. This is a basic survey. You could create a new survey. And in NationBuilder here, we've got the ability to add questions. So in this case, I think there's just one question so far. This you might have support level, however, that if you're using eCanvasser would not be because you've already got support level, which is that star rating that that Tyler went over. So we could say, lawn sign. Let's say sign underscore large. So a large lawn sign or a corner or whatnot. So let's just say large lawn sign. Do you want a lawn sign? Or would you take a lawn sign? And then here you've got the option multiple choice, yes or no. And actually, I mean, I guess this probably would be better if we just said lawn sign. And then we could have multiple choice. So save that. And we can have possible responses. So you might have sign, small sign, and large sign. And then the nice thing here is you can tag. So you could tag them as the lawn sign or whatnot, but you could also add them to a path. Now, Tyler, I'm not sure whether I'd have to check. I don't know if it automatically adds them to a path if it's being synced from. So I'm not sure if the path. I know for sure the tag works. I'm not sure if it automatically adds them to the path when they're synced from eCanvasser to NationBuilder. So at least, yeah.
We haven't used the surveys yet, but I would assume that it does, only because when it pushes it to NationBuilder, it's just following the NationBuilder's tag and path instructions.
Right. Yeah. No. I would hope, but since I haven't, I usually typically just would tag it. But that gives you a sense of the type of response, and that's what an example of here. We've got lawn sign, multiple choice, and yes, small size, yes, large, yes, corner, maybe callback. Those are the options. And actually, it looks like there's been 76 responses there. So yeah, that gives you